Hello again everyone, Edwin Moyer back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about Mercury square or opposition the Ascendant in a natal chart. Now some of you may remember when I first started my YouTube astrology channel, I did a series on the aspects in a natal chart. They're a little bit concise and some people may refer to them as snappy. So what I decided to do was make another series on them in which the videos would be a little bit longer and more descriptive. So anyway, first thing up is, well, if you have Mercury square or opposite the Ascendant in a natal chart, one way it may manifest is that there may be some difficulty in terms of communicating, which is Mercury, about oneself, outlook on life, new beginnings, which is the Ascendant. If the Ascendant is in Taurus, say, that outlook on life could be very grounded in one, very pragmatic, but very, maybe a little bit too down to earth. And the thing is, if Sagittarius is rising as another example, that outlook on life, of course, could be very, optimistic and upbeat. Sagittarius rising can be that incorrigible optimist. And another thing about these aspects is that it may be hard, to put the mind, which is Mercury, on matters pertaining to the physical body and appearance. Which is the Ascendant. Now, let's say, if the Ascendant is in Gemini, there may be, physical related issues, connected with the arms, the nerves, the hands, lungs, breathing. But it might be harder, to put that mind on it, and maybe as a result, at times actually do something, about the issues. Or sometimes there may be, if you have this aspect, could also manifest, maybe not understanding all the time, physical related issues that are, connected with the physical body and appearance. And the thing is, if you have one of these aspects in your natal chart, it may be inauspicious in terms of physical related, which is the Ascendant activities using the hands. It doesn't necessarily mean that a person is not proficient in doing things physically related that are associated with the hands and dexterity, which is Mercury. But maybe I would think that there could be greater propensity for some kind of injury or delays in connection with it. And there may be, the thing about, these aspects as well is that Mercury's connected with short journeys. So, short journeys, which is Mercury, it could be going to places from the early childhood, which is the Ascendant, or even during that time. They may not have been favorable. There may have been, more adverse, situations and matters with short journeys, whether it was, delays or some restrictions involved in it. Going to places where, meeting the wrong, people, arguments, disputes with others as a result of going to these places. Could have been, if you were really, during that time in the early childhood, going to places that maybe you shouldn't have gone, and thus, being reprimanded by a baron as a result, thus not making it, very auspicious thing for you to do, or just it didn't work out in your favor because of that, as an example. Now, another thing, well, if Mercury is in Scorpio, as an example, short journeys may have been, places that are very secretive, mysterious, even connected with the occult, which includes astrology, or places of horror, such as horror houses during Halloween, as some examples. Now, also, too, there may be, if you have one of these aspects in your natal chart, there may be difficulty in terms of thinking, which is Mercury, how to make that good, first impression on others, which is the Ascendant. Now, the thing is, if the Ascendant is in Virgo, as an example, that first impression one may attempt to make, it could be one that's very cerebral, intellectual, one that's very punctilious with details, neat, clean, industrious, being an impression of, showing, some kind of, reliability, being punctual and timely, as an example. Now, the thing is to, if the ascendant is in Aries as another example, that first impression, maybe one in which one tries to, come across as a very assertive, aggressive, courageous, brave person that has enterprise, even can be pioneering, as some examples, willing to stand up, for others. Now, another thing too is that if you have Mercury square or opposite the ascendant in a natal chart, another way it may be expressed is there may be difficulty in terms of the vitality, which is the ascendant, for communication, writings, and even, manual dexterity, which is Mercury. Now, let's say if you have the ascendant, say in Pisces, or the zodiac sign Cancer, both those signs are not exactly known to have, robust, constitution or vitality. It could even be more difficult. Pisces rising can often feel tired, lethargic, may not, really have an abundance of energy. If you have your ascendant in a more, vital sign, or I should say one that is more energetic, like Leo rising, the energy can be nearly inexorable, or Aries rising, which naturally can have an abundance of energy. Aries rising can be very energetic. You could factor that in, but there still may be difficulty in finding, that energy in order to do the things I mentioned connected with Mercury. Now, another thing about these aspects is that it could be where it may be hard to analyze, which is Mercury, how you're coming across to others, which is the ascendant. If the ascendant is in Scorpio, one may come across, to others, somewhat powerful, formidable, resourceful, resilient, incisive, and probing. But because, if you have the Mercury, making the adverse aspect to the ascendant, it may be more difficult to see, like, for example, Scorpio's rising. If you're coming across as too powerful, or you're actually just, being too imposing or intimidating, because Scorpio rising, especially, in a one-on-one situation, maybe too much for that other person to handle. They almost, Scorpio rising may function better more, with multiple people, as opposed to, one-on-one, because they could come on as too, strong on the first impression. Now, another thing about these aspects is that it may not be overly propitious in terms of driving, which is Mercury, two friends of siblings, which is the ascendant. The reason that the ascendant is connected with friends of siblings is because it's 11 houses from the third house of siblings. Now, let's say, for example, if the ascendant is in, say, the zodiac sign Libra, those friends of siblings, may be Libra, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or simply embody the characteristics of the sign. It could be people, that are very charming, tactful, diplomatic, cooperative, compromising, equitable, fair, may have an ability to negotiate, may emphasize intellectual sociability. Now, another thing about these aspects is that that person's walk, which is the ascendant, which is connected, with how one may walk, may not always be monitored, which is Mercury, monitored by others in the most positive light. If Leo is rising, as an example, it could be that, the person may walk in a very, dignified manner with the chest kind of puffed out, but may, maybe be appearing too overconfident, to others. And, the thing about, this is too, if Taurus is rising, Taurus may, walk in a very deliberate, methodical manner, and, with the feet coming well before the rest of the body. But there may be something about that, where the walk may be too slow to others, and might be seen in a more negative light. Now, another thing too is that siblings, cousins, and neighbors, which is Mercury, may often not be, compatible with your outer demeanor, which is the ascendant. Now, let's say if the ascendant is in Capricorn, as an example, the outer demeanor may actually be, very serious, consistent, structured, disciplined, and responsible. But siblings, cousins, and neighbors may see, more of the negative in the outer demeanor of Capricorn rising, for which can include, maybe being overly rigid and intransigent, or even cold, callous or undemonstrative. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Leonard saying, stay well.